Welcome back to another high-level match of StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a best-of-5 series of Zerg versus Protoss. This is the grand finals of the ESL Open Cup North America number 148, I want to say. It's either 147 or 148. Anyways, spawning right here in the top right-hand corner, playing with the red Zerg drones. We have everyone's favorite American. No, obviously the ESL Open Cups, they only determine what server the games are being played on. He's from South Korea, and he goes by the name of Solar. Solar actually plays in a lot of these days, which is pretty awesome. So yeah, you can technically play in all three versions of this weekly tournament. You just have to be up at the appropriate time, I suppose. Now, obviously, the US and Korea, they're not particularly close by in time zone, but I guess Mr. Solar is making it work. His opponent, playing here with the blue Protoss pieces, he is from the United States. He goes by the name of Astrea. Alrighty, so Astrea going up against Solar in a best-of-5 series. Let me just flip that scoreboard upside down. Lately, in the Zerg versus Protoss matchup, we've seen quite a bit of build order variety from Protoss once again. For the last 6 months or so, other than like the last 2 weeks, it seems that pretty much everyone was playing the Oracle opener, right? So Mr. Hero popularized that. He started going for like triple Oracle and then a lot of Blink Stalker and all that. And I believe that that is still the go-to build order for most Protoss players out there. But lately it seems that once again we see a lot of Twilight Council. Once again we see a lot of Robo Facility. And while I haven't seen any Astrea games yet, well, over like the last 2 weeks, I don't think anyways, I feel like he is the type of guy who would be mixing it up, you know? He definitely isn't afraid to go for some spicier playstyles and some trickier gameplay. So I'm hoping that that is what we're going to see in this particular game as well. Alrighty. For now though, nothing out of the ordinary. Obviously the tech route that Protoss goes for is decided as soon as the cybernetics core finishes up. So in order to go for a Robo Facility, a Stargate, or a Twilight Council, you need to have a Cybercore. Now, in order to go for a Cybercore, you need to have a Gateway. And in order to go for a Gateway, you need to have a Pylon. In order to have a Pylon, I guess you need to have a Nexus? I would imagine so. At the very least, you need to have one at the very beginning of the game before you can consider making one. And there it is. Okay, yeah, there it is. Astrea is indeed going to go for the Twilight Council, which I kind of like. So historically, Protoss has always had like 4 dozen different openers that are all viable in the early game, but then usually one build just becomes more popular because it's a little bit better than all the others. The problem is, if you do the same build order a million times, like for example that Oracle build I was just talking about that we've seen so much of the last half year, obviously the opponents are also going to get really comfortable dealing with that particular build order, and because of that you, effectively make it ineffective, if that makes any sense. Anyhow, a Robo Facility here as a follow-up as well. What exactly are we going to be doing with the Twilight Council? Well, currently he doesn't have any gas yet, but I'd imagine it's glaives? You need a little bit more gas for that. Ugh. What's the point of the... Anyways, in the meantime, by the way... Okay, there it is. It is going to be the Glaive to Depth opener. A little bit later than I would like to see it. Anyhow, Baneling Nest is coming up right here for Solar. Maybe Solar has had enough, actually, of these Protoss players going for a variety of build orders as well, actually. He's just been making non-stop Zerglings here for a little while already. Are we gonna go for a good old Baneling bust? Apparently we are. Solar taking a page out of Dark's book. This is something that Dark has been playing a lot lately. Now, I don't think the Stalker, even if... maybe it could, actually. Either way, he doesn't know at this point. He's gonna try and deny that Overlord Scout, but that Overlord Scout is complete bait. Zerg is already waiting at your front door. Double Adept. Don't stack them up together like that. Then the splash damage, can be maximized. That Stalker, in the meantime, still busy working on that one Overlord. And there it is. This is one of those builds that, if you would go for an Oracle opener, oh my god, is amazing, right? Like, it's amazing for the Protoss, that is. You can easily shut this down if you have the right units at the right time. Now, Astrea still actually has a worker lead at this point, so if he can hold on, that would be fantastic. The problem is there's just going to be a lot more on the back of this too, right? Since all of this is unpowered over here, Astrea can't actually warp in a lot of reinforcements with what little income he has right now. There's another probe. More and more workers, or another Baneling rather, on top of the probes, more and more workers here are falling. And Solar indeed wins game number 1. Next up, we find ourselves on Moondance. Solar has decided to go for a hatchery first on the low ground, followed up by an extractor as well as a spawning pool. So for the last couple of weeks, it seems that the variety of builds is working out quite well for Protoss. However, apparently Solar is having none of it. I mean, that build would not have been particularly great if it was just a good old Oracle opener, so I think Solar is probably thinking the same as I am. This guy, Mr. Astrea that is, doesn't seem like the type of guy who wants to be playing what is the like, he's not a Showtime, you know? Like, you're not gonna Bailing Bust Showtime, it doesn't really work. He's gonna probably try out something a little bit more exotic, and I guess a Bailing Bust is pretty good against, well, for example, a Twilight Council opener, a Dark Templar build. It's probably pretty good against a Disruptor start. It's good against a variety of strategies. It's just pretty terrible against either like an Oracle or even a Void Ray start. Anyhow, Cybercore just about to finish up once again. What exactly is the plan this time around, Astrea? Usually the tech choice will be coming up right next to the pylon inside of the main base. So it is going to be a Warp Gates right away as well as an Adept. So this does mean that Astrea doesn't actually have gas to go for anything just yet. Usually though, this is a pretty big indicator that you want to go. He's only on 1 gas actually. Oh, okay. So he wants to go for a super quick third Nexus. This is 2.5 minutes into the game. That is a super quick third Nexus. I mean, honestly, if this was a Bailing Bust once again, Astrea is just not going to have enough units. He's just not going to have enough stuff. Mr. Solar. Okay, playing this series like a hawk so far. Already heading on over in that direction. Reading his opponent like a book. So the one tell that Solar had is that the Cybercore immediately started spinning. So that indicates that the Warp Gates research started up. It is a very small tell, but usually that means that it's not going to be a Stargate. So Solar, ooh, you need to go a little bit further though. I mean, honestly, that little Stalker's positioning is already really enough, right? Like, if you're not trying to hide anything, you'd probably try to get the Stalker over here instead. Yeah, Astrea thinking the same thing right now. He's trying to deflect that Overlord, but honestly, that has a little bit of a suspicious positioning, because this one would have... Anyways, doesn't really matter all too much. It is going to be a Robo facility on the back of this, and now Mr. Solar, once more, going for a pretty quick tech structure. Not the Bailing Nest, but he's decided to go for a Roach Warren instead. Alright. Alright. I mean, that is earlier than when we normally see it, so I've got a feeling he's got something in mind. He's mining 3 drones in gas, but he doesn't really have that much gas. I think if you want to go for a Roach push, you're gonna have to. Maybe this is just him playing it safely, right? So since he did see that timing right there. Ooh, well, he sees the timing right now of the Robo facility too. He did see the timing right there of the Warp Gate research. Solar at this point knows that everything's been delayed tremendously. So, 1 and 1 is 2. At this point, despite the fact that he hasn't seen the Nexus, he must know that it is indeed up and running. And that there's going to be a pretty good amount of economy right here for the Protoss. That being said, Solar is still making a lot of army here. Yeah, he decides to cancel the Spore Crawlers right now. Okay, maybe he had to think about it for just a moment, but now he's realized exactly what he's going up against. Yeah, he decided to go for a couple of Spores. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Alright. Nice little bit of work over here by the sentries. They don't normally deal any damage, but... Ooh, Astrea thinking about going for another build here. Okay, he decides to go for a 5-minute 4th base. This might actually be a misread here from Solar regardless, though. Because Solar is actually going for a Spine Crawler right now. He decides to cancel it once more. Okay, well, Mr. Solar has been making a large amount of units here for a while. And at this point, he's fallen quite far behind economically. Yeah. So you can see Astrea here climbing up when it comes to that income count. I've got a feeling that you kind of have to get something done with this army right now. Astrea, this is not the time to move out. Whoa! No, 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 no. Oh, yikes. Okay, so this is like a reverse bluff type of thing right now, where Astrea is thinking he's got red really nicely. So he's probably thinking that Solar, because he got red so nicely, has decided to go for a huge economy. But that's not actually the case. Solar has been making non-stop army here for a long time. As a matter of fact, he's only got 41 workers. Oh, no. There's like 7 layers to this mind game right now. And this is Solar certainly getting the upper hand, yeah. The Immortals and stuff can be juggled for a little bit, but that is his entire... Oh my god, what a messy game. Yeah, that was a bit of a disaster. So now he does a tech move, right? Now he... Oh, no. So that Nexus is already gone. At the very least, the only thing that needs to be protected is this wall off over here. Somehow those Zerglings got looped up, I guess, since they managed to squeeze in between the Cyber Core and that force field. But, I mean, Solar's been making non-stop army here for a long time. I think he was probably assuming that maybe the Robo facility was fake or something along those lines. Maybe he did not quite figure out what was going on. Either way, he picks up a quick 2-0. That moment when you try to mind game your opponent so hard that you accidentally end up playing yourself. Anyways, next up, we find ourselves on Cosmic Sapphire, and it's already match point right here for Solar. Solar probably a little bit confused from that previous game. Not entirely sure exactly what ended up happening there, but, you know, he had units. He had them at the right place at the right time, and that's all that really matters. I think actually if Astrea would have just decided to sit back and, you know, just warped in reinforcements. I mean, he was like, what, 15, 20 workers behind? Solar, that is? So, yeah, I think if Astrea would have just sat back and tried to defend the 4th Nexus instead, Solar was going to be the one who had to push across, and then obviously with the help of shield batteries and having that high ground and more energy for force fields and all that, you'll probably be in a much better spot as Protoss there than you would be with Zerg. Anyhow. It's going to be a triple hatch opener, and once more into a Twilight Council right now for Astrea because it worked out so well in game number 1. Isn't it kind of interesting, though? How, like, a month ago, everybody was still playing that Oracle opener. And now I've casted, well, we're going into our 3rd game here of ZVP, and there's no, okay, there's just no Oracle. Once more, though, I'm not sure about the gas situation here. I guess this is the ultimate timing right here, but it seems disconnected. Because if you want to go for the Glaive the Depth upgrade, for example, you're gonna need to get that 100 gas, and with this build, Astrea just doesn't have the gas. Okay, there it is, yeah. So it starts up like what? 15 seconds or so after the Twilight Council finishes? I don't know. Either there's a little bit of a disconnect in what Astrea is trying to do, or he's doing it on purpose. I'm inclined to go with option 2, because these guys generally know very well what they're doing, but it does seem a little bit shaky. He was purposefully mining 2 out of 3 in gas, though, for a while right there, so I guess it's part of the build order. Anyways, Solar getting a perfect read. Yeah, he doesn't even need to know. He doesn't even need to see the Twilight Council. At this point, he knows that it's gonna be some sort of Twilight opener. I mean, I would have still liked to see that something was researching there, though. Just so you actually know if it's gonna be Dark Templar or if it's gonna be a Twilight Council upgrade. But I guess he really wants to keep this Overlord alive. Yep, he gets it. Wow. All right. Here go the Adepts. Now, we do have that Robo Bay as a follow-up, which I quite like. So, it's, we saw this before. Who was that again who was playing that? Hold up, one sec. I can't find out this quickly. Maybe it was Hero? Not 100% sure. Anyways, I quite like the idea of going from a Twilight Council into a Robo Bay this quickly. So, the Adepts obviously are going to be forcing out slow roaches. And then those slow roaches can get absolutely demolished by disruptors. It's kind of cool. Anyways, the Queens over here at the front, doing so much work already. Okay, only 2 of those Adepts do decide to commit, and they're going to be able to get some work done. Prism in the meantime in the main base as well, trying to be obnoxious. There's indeed a disruptor coming up. Yeah, so when you go for this sort of opener here as Zerg, right, and you scout the Twilight Council start, you don't actually usually go for a lair very quickly. Just because you need to make sure that you make as many workers as possible, and you can defend against the Adepts with just Zerglings and Roaches anyways. And obviously, without the lair, you can't go for the Roach Speed upgrade. And without the Roach Speed upgrade, what in the world are you going to do against these guys? Pretty clever little start, but obviously it comes at the cost of a much delayed 3rd Nexus as well here for Protoss. Astrea doesn't have that much here. Decides to go for the Prism Speed upgrade as well. I like it. I wouldn't be surprised if this is going to be a build that we'll see quite a bit. Because now you're not just... Okay, that was a little bit sloppy though, because I think that Solar just actually scouted the Disruptor right over there. I don't know why it's rallied all the way towards this natural. Anyways, Prism is going to get recalled. 4 workers ended up going down right there in total. What I was trying to say is that, like, normally when you go for the Adept play, you kind of need the Adepts to deal damage. But again, that's one of those builds that Zerg players have gotten very good at defending, because they've played against it a million times. Maybe not so much recently, but it was very popular, you know, a couple of years ago. And it's gone in and out of popularity over the years. I quite like the Disruptor as a follow-up. Although I feel like last time we saw this build, it was quicker. I don't really know exactly why, but... only seen this once before, but it's kind of neat. Yeah, once recently, that is. Oof. Lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. And no Protoss player has ever complained that, ah, dang, now I've got Disruptors, right? Like, no, Disruptors are excellent. They're kind of like Archons. Assuming you control them well anyways, this should pretty much always be a good option. Colossus as a follow-up, Blink as a follow-up, +1 ground weapons as a follow-up as well here for Astrea. Yeah, I like a lot about this. I think it's a good alternative to opening up Oracles. At least it seems to leverage you into a pretty nice mid-game. Nice. Yep. Fantastic situation right here for Astrea. Obviously, by no means a game-winning position just yet, but certainly more comfortable than what we've seen so far in this particular series. There's the additional gates finishing up. That's going to be 8 gateways in total. 4th Nexus starts up as well. Economically speaking, Solar and Astrea are basically even, which of course means that it's a nice advantage right here for our Protoss player. Especially with the amount of tech. Needs to be very careful though. You can't just end up... Blink is done. Yeah, you can't just end up having Zerglings running into your natural for obvious reasons. Photon Cannon coming up as well because Astrea is a little bit concerned for a potential Mutalisk transition. That's another one of the downsides of not opening up with a Stargate. It's very difficult to actually scout much, and obviously we've seen Serral play. That's a cool statue. Victoria? Alright. Yeah, we've seen Serral play a lot of Muta builds lately. And while Blink Stalkers are pretty good, I do think it's a nice idea as well to have that Photon Cannon in place in every single one of the bases. Now, this is a nice catch, yeah. Not only does he catch all of those workers and get some resources, he also obviously scouts what the plan right here from Solar is, as Solar now decides to morph in 34 Banelings at home. Look at that Roach. Hell yeah, dude. that Roach having a little bit of a breakdancing session while the Banelings are morphing in. You love to see it. Anyways. Oh no. Yeah, this ain't it. This ain't it, Solar. I mean, maybe. That is a lot of Zerg, though. There's the Disruptors. Disruptors are hunting for the middle of that clump of Banelings. There it is. Great work here by the American. Getting a lot of work done. I believe he's got enough. He should have enough. Yeah, still some decent Baneling connections there in the end. Yeah, you always have to keep microing, right? How Protoss ever became the F2A race, at least according to the StarCraft community, I will never understand. But it is indeed Astrea who obtains the victory here. Alright, next up, Tropical Sacrifice. Hey, Astrea, I think now you go for a good old Oracle opener, okay? I know that maybe it's losing popularity a little bit, but I still feel like it's an excellent choice. Because even though it's nice if you deal damage, it's even nicer to just have those Oracles out, right? I mean, we've seen players deal a lot of damage in the early game with Oracles in the past, and Zerg players have, of course, progressively gotten better at defending against those Oracles, but the Oracles aren't just there for base harassment, they're also there for scouting, for tagging the Zerg army. One thing that you don't quite realize when you're a Zerg player, like myself, until you actually play Protoss, or for example Terran, is that, well, Terran and Protoss don't really have a lot of vision. I mean, at the very least, Protoss still has observers that they can use to fly around the map and stuff. But generally speaking, especially if you go for that robo-based play, you just don't really see a whole lot. Like, you're always guessing, and Oracles really are a solution to that problem. You can keep flying them around and continuously get some scouting info, but if you go straight into, well, once again, a Twilight Council, you're kind of setting yourself up for timing attacks, primarily, right? Like, you kind of need to go for an attack at a certain moment to... Now he is mining 3 and 3 gas. Interesting. Anyways, yeah, you're kind of setting yourself up for a timing attack, you sort of have to deal damage. Whereas with the Oracle opener, even if you don't deal any damage, life's still pretty good. Okay, so Twilight Council's finishing up, and this time around Astrea does have plenty of gas to go for any of the upgrades, and he decides to go for Blink. Alright, well, Blink is not a timing attack opener. Like, maybe, but like, not really though. This is not Terran. The thing is, Zerg has these little units called Zerglings. You may have heard of them. You've seen them maybe once or twice. Zerglings are very good against Stalkers when they're unupgraded. I mean, unless I guess there's more Stalkers than Zerglings, that you can get a lot of work done. But usually, Blink is not an opener that we see as a... Yeah, it's like, not just by itself, right? Oracle into Blink is really good, and obviously Blink against Terran is really good too, because you can Blink into their main base. But Zerglings on creep, how exactly are you going to do with those if you don't have, at the same time, also, well, other units, right? What if, for example, now Solar is not doing it, but what if, for example, this would have not been a Roach Warren opener here from Solar, but he would have gone for the +1 melee upgrade into a Hydralisk Den, which is something that we've seen Solar do a bunch as well lately. Stalkers would get absolutely decimated. I mean, he's just making a lot of gateways right now. Okay. Yeah, look. So, this is gonna be 7 gateway Stalker? Really? Well, this is all Solar needs to see. Beautiful scout right here. Most of the time, if it's, for example, an Adept opener, and he is showing for Adept, which is kind of clever. But most of the time when it's an Adept opener, it's going to be 4 gateways. And then a Nexus. This is 8 gateways. No, 7 gateways. Anyways, counting is hard. But 7 gateways is all you really need to see. If it's more than like 5 or 6, you know it's going to be an all-in. So now Solar's primary question is, how many workers can I make before I need to start making army? Now, I think 46, 47 is probably the absolute most. Maybe if you play a perfect early game, like 48, 49. I feel like Sarah would go 49. Anyways, all Solar needs to do right now is make units, spread creep, and then hopefully have enough stuff by the time that the Protoss player will get across the map. And it's gonna be Blink Stalker as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Protoss players experimenting with other builds. But my gut instinct is telling me that this ain't it. It's gonna be a bunch of Stalkers. So obviously, Solar doesn't know what upgrade was researched. But Roach Ravager, Ling, pretty good against everything. Obviously, Queens are also pretty good. Zergling's going in for the counterattack. That is definitely not a Nexus, though, no. Creep spread here looking excellent as well, by the way. Every minute that goes by right now, it's gonna be easier and easier here for Zerg. Although he did lose a couple of workers just now. So he can blink away, yeah. Astrea, how is this ever going to work? I mean, I want to believe, but like... I just... It doesn't make sense. Like, this is a unit that Speedlings alone counter. If the Cybercore falls, by the way, he cannot actually make any additional Stalkers anymore. Like, at that point, you cannot make any Stalkers. He's gonna need another Cybercore. Yeah, okay, there it goes down. Now, that was pretty expensive. Stalkers decide to go into the main base. Lovely little attempted move right there with the sentry drop. Trying to keep that Zerg force fielded out. That worked really well back in 2011 before the Ravager was introduced in the game. But these days, Zerg players can pop force fields. It's been a long time. Yeah, look at this. That is peak confidence right here from Solar. So I was like, you know what? I am good. I am starting to make drones once again. Okay, now we're gonna go into the robotics bay. I want to believe in these experimental Protoss builds, but I just don't see. I just don't see how this would work. Like, this is the best case scenario, mind you, for Solar right here. Sorry, like, this is best case scenario right here for Astrea from Solar. Like, if this would have been a +1 melee opener, this would have gotten absolutely murdered. Like, Zerglings against +1 upgraded, it would just not even be close. Robo Bay coming up right now. Okay. He's doing a little bit of harassment here, though. The problem is that he's never going to be able to easily secure a third Nexus. Like, he's going to have to fall back with pretty much the entire army to be able to secure another... Oh, sorry, a third Nexus. Did I say fourth? Anyways, he needs to secure another base here very soon because the main and the natural... Yep, they're already running dangerously low on minerals. And because of that, it's now becoming do or die. Okay, so that was a pretty easy hold right there for Solar. Solar doesn't have that much economy, though. Ah, you know what? This is maybe actually pretty playable. Even though I'm not a huge fan of that start. He didn't really give away a lot either, right? If we look right now at the resources lost, yeah. It's actually... I assumed that Astrea was gonna go for a nice little attack here. It's the bear party. I assumed we were gonna see a nice committed attack right there from Astrea, but Astrea just kind of danced at the edge of creep, trying to bait Solar off of it. Which never happened. Maybe that's the strat? That shouldn't happen at this level, though. Like, that would work against me. But, you know, I'm pretty atrocious at the game. Like, I would probably get greedy and be like, I've got enough stuff! Go, go, go! I feel like we could have seen some piles over there. Alright, +1 melee is finishing up here eventually. Okay, nice. Solar at this point with a small army lead. But that +1 melee is going to make this fight so much nicer here, though. Okay. That's a lot of stalkers, though. Yeah, that is a lot of stalkers. Those force fields also slowing a lot of that down. Disruptor hit. I feel like he should have gone for the Ravagers, but decided to steer clear from those. Natural in a little bit of trouble, but so far okay. Probes have, okay, got a split as well. Ooh, ooh. Man, Disruptors are so much better than everything else here for Protoss. Okay, he does snipe the Disruptor here eventually. What a messy game. This game is a little confusing. But, in the end, Astrea stabilizes. He's got 3 next side done. Sure, he's lost a bunch of probes, but this is a relatively playable game right now, I think, here for our American Protoss. Although, he's once again... No, he's not done. He's just gonna continuously be aggressive? Really? Heh. I feel like this is a good moment to sit back for a little bit, dude. There's no Observer here. There's obviously also no Disruptor anymore. Maybe with 2 Disruptors, this would be a nice pushable fight, but... Okay, he's going really deep. Drones are pulled away from their mineral lines. That's mostly because there's a lot of Zerglings on the other side of the map harassing that 3rd base. You know what? Astrea actually pushing through a lot of this right now, getting some work done. He's trying to even target fire down that hatchery for just a moment, but that is going to be a little bit tricky. Now the Zerglings are back, though. They haven't quite killed the 3rd Nexus, but blinking towards the low ground, I think, is indeed the right choice. Both players end up losing 9 workers. That said, Astrea, it's time to transfer workers, dude. Like, you're not getting a whole lot of income anymore. Like, the worker spread here is just so much better for Solar. Not only does he have a couple more of those, they're also mining a whole lot more resource efficiently. Or effective. There you go. English words. I'm recording this one early in the morning, okay? Give me a break. I'll be casting multiple games today. Maybe my future games will actually have better commentary. So, you know what you should do? Hit the subscribe button so you get notified as soon as future videos go live. Nah, it's fine. It's fine. This quadruple stalker harass in a prism. Okay. So we are going back to Disruptor play once more. I do think it's a pretty good choice. +2 melee, though, is going to finish up. Zerg, yeah, pretty well upgraded. Protoss is gonna have a whole lot of nothing. I'll try to show you the strength of those upgrades here after this game concludes. Because it really makes a tremendous difference. Okay, there's 1 Disruptor available. Disruptors are good against Roaches and Ravagers, not so much against Zerglings, though. Okay, nice hit right over there, but the +2 is done at this point, and it just deals so much damage. Good splits once again, though. Disruptor there gets blown up eventually. Battery overcharged. Desperately trying to keep a lot of those units alive. Colossus coming up on the back of this, too. Yeah, there's just too much. Those upgrades are a little too much at this point. GG is cold. There it is. Solar obtains the victory in this ESL Open Cup for the Americas. Alright, so I've opened up a custom map called the LowkoTV Unit Tester. If you search for that in the arcade, you will be able to find this. So what I've got right here is 100 Zerglings on the right and 30 Stalkers on the left. Now these are all fully unupgraded, other than Metabolic Boost. Come on, Zerglings. Get into the battle. Alright. So I want to show you this battle right here. I don't really know exactly how this is going to go, but the Stalkers will be able to win this. And then the only thing I'm going to change is I'm going to give those Zerglings +2 melee. Basically what we saw right there at the end of that game. There you go. So that fight was won by the Protoss player with 5 Stalkers remaining. Now what I'm going to do is give those Zerglings +2 melee. That's it. So that's 100 minerals, 100 gas, 150 minerals, 150 gas. It's pretty cheap. At least relatively speaking, and you'll be able to see how much of a difference this actually makes. Some of the Zerglings don't want to fight. Come on, lads. And this becomes only more and more extreme as the game progresses. So there you go. We go from Protoss winning a fight with 5 Stalkers left over to Zerg winning the fight with like a third of the units left over. Now, I know I mentioned this as well in a previous video, but just for those of you interested that are taking notes. So the damage that a unit deals is decided as follows. So it's base damage of the attacking unit plus attack upgrades of the attacking units minus base armor of attacked unit minus armor upgrades of attacked unit. Is actual damage. So the way Protoss could nullify this upgrade advantage is by simply getting +2 armor themselves, or obviously getting attack upgrades themselves and therefore being able to kill the Zerglings faster. But yeah, it is very important that you scale with those upgrades because it just makes such a tremendous difference. Alright, so this is the most extreme example I can come up with. We've got 3 carriers with +3 upgrades. So these deal a ton of damage right now. And then on the right side, we've got 1 Ultralisk that does not have any upgrades at all. Well, it's got +2 melee from the previous thing. Not particularly relevant, right? It dies really quickly. The only thing I'm going to change right now is I'm going to give this Ultralisk +3 armor, as well as Chitinous Plating, which is an upgrade that gives them +2 armor as well. So now this Ultralisk right here has 5 more armor than it had previously. Now, of course, it will still die. But rather than it dying within, like, what, 2 seconds? It actually lives for a very significant amount of time. Anyways, long story short. Upgrade's good. you should probably get it.